Welcome to the Aid Station. I'm Chris Robb, and today hugely excited to be heading to Cairo in Egypt, where we meet Ayman Hakky, who's the founder and managing director of the TriFactory. Welcome, Ayman. Great to see you.
Thank you, Chris. It's my pleasure. I'm really happy to be here today.
Look, I'm so excited to hear your story. It's been kind of a week of interviewing trailblazers, people who have kind of started their business off, or the business of mass participation, and it's had a huge knock-on effect. And it seems like you're one of those in Egypt. So I'd love to hear your story, and maybe just start a little bit about what's the background to the Ayman story.
Absolutely. Let me just tell you that I've really enjoyed following your show, and I can definitely relate to all the speakers, all the people that you've interviewed about the mass participation industry. So it's been a lot of fun, to follow those interviews. Just
Great.
to tell you a little bit about myself, I grew up playing sports, specifically tennis and swimming, and I've always been crazy about sports. I studied economics and then started my career as an economic analyst in British Petroleum while I was competing in water polo and actually played for my team and won the Egyptian National League on the senior level. Yeah, so I was originally almost like a semi-professional water polo player. And I played football as a hobby. When I injured my knee badly playing football, I tore my ACL. I had to stop playing football and water polo, and I needed to find a different kind of sport that could accommodate my knee. And that was triathlon. That's when I learned about triathlon, because the doctor that I went to see told me that I had to stop all kinds of twists and turns and contact sports, so, and that's when I found out about triathlon, and I could easily do it with my injury. At the time, triathlon had no existence in Egypt, no presence in Egypt at all. That was back in like 2011, 2012. And I learned about triathlon while traveling abroad for work. So I got into it and I absolutely loved it. I got hooked on triathlon, the endurance bug, of course. And I came back to Egypt, formed a triathlon group. There were no events at the time. So we were training together and traveling abroad to compete in different kinds of events, like the London ITU, which was really inspiring to me, and the Ironman events in Spain and Barcelona, and all different kinds of events, even in Dubai. And that's, when I thought to myself, it would make sense to start maybe organizing similar events in Egypt. I loved the atmosphere when I traveled abroad, and it was really nice. And I felt very inspired, to organize an event like the ones that I traveled to. So my first triathlon back in 2013, that was the first privately organized triathlon in Egypt. And that was the start of triathlon at the time. We were surprised to have maybe 150 participants at the time, none of them that I knew, or maybe, and it was everyone's first ever triathlon. It was really fun, and that was the starting point for us. From then on, we established the TriFactory, organizing more than 10 events a year, including marathons, triathlons, trail runs, Tough Mudder, all kinds of events, and we're still growing. Our last event, the Pyramids Half Marathon, just before the lockdown, had 4,000 participants from over 80 nations. So that's just a quick introduction about the TriFactory and myself.
What a wonderful story. And isn't it amazing how often in life adversity creates opportunity? So, that it must have been terrible for you at the time to tear your ACL and lose something that you were passionate about, and look at where it steered you. It's amazing. You were telling me before we started recording that the lockdowns lasted for over 3 months now, from mid-March, but that's slowly starting to ease. What's life been like in Egypt during that period of time, and I guess Cairo specifically for you? What's day to day been like, and what have you been through?
It's definitely been a major change for me and for everyone else. Cairo is a very busy city, and we're always very busy, of course, as you know, in the industry of event management. No 2 days look the same for us. I'm always running around. I'm not used to staying put, and I don't like personally to sit on the desk too long. That's why I quit the corporate life. I'm always running around trying to find new venues, talking to sponsors, finding new tools for our events, traveling around. I travel all the time, to attend events, to attend conferences, or all kinds of things. So staying put and staying I kind of enjoyed the relaxation at the beginning of the lockdown. By the time, it felt kind of boring. Trying, of course, to use the time to sort of develop the TriFactory, to use the time wisely, to reconsider our business plan, and think about the future. So it's definitely been a major change, but we're hoping for the best. We're staying safe, spending some quality time with my family, with my two-year-old girl, and experiencing all the kinds of terrible two episodes. So it's been enjoyable, of course.
Oh, wonderful to have that time. And you mentioned that, whilst there was a lockdown, there was a degree of flexibility. It was mostly around curfews, and you were able to get out and about. And I guess that means you've continued to be able to do some training, which is so important to have that exercise in these times, isn't it?
That's right. That's right. I think we've been luckier than most athletes, as endurance athletes. We've been lucky, to be able to continue exercising during the lockdown. We have all the streets in front of you to run, to bike, and everything. So we've been definitely more fortunate than other athletes, who are struggling to continue training, whether they play tennis or swimming or other sports, who can't cope with the lockdown at all. We've actually used time wisely, and we've organized virtual marathons for our members, and that's proven hugely successful and popular. I mean, we're continuing to, navigate those difficult times by organizing the virtual marathons, and that's really what's kept us going together as a team, and kept us busy.
Fantastic. And just one of the things, I've never had the pleasure of going to Cairo. It's definitely on my bucket list, and to see other parts of Egypt. But, all the images I've seen of quite busy streets. So how do you go as a triathlete training in Cairo? Is it relatively easy, or do you have to go a long way out of town to get roads, or you do fairly short circuits to get the kilometers in on the bike?
Yeah, it's definitely not easy, especially for cycling and to train in Egypt or in Cairo. We usually go on highways to train. So we go out of the city to find decent roads that we can bike on. So or we just use trainers to cycle indoor.
Yeah.
So we definitely love to have you over, in Cairo, and go for a ride.
Yeah, and look, I would imagine that, the other elements of that event, I mean, so much beautiful water to swim in. I'm a mad keen scuba diver, and again, one of my dreams to scuba dive in the Red Sea. So I'm guessing you have some amazing swim courses, and then when you've got some closed roads and so on, you must put on some amazing events, and that sounds really exciting. And I guess one of the reasons why you get growth and you get tourists coming in there. What have been, I guess, switching gear a little bit, I mean, some of your challenges over this period of time? I mean, we speak about the challenge of getting your cycling training in, but from a personal and a business perspective, you've obviously got a team of people. How many people in your team? Have you had to lay off staff? Have you had issues of sponsors saying because your events are postponed or cancelled that they're no longer supporting you? Any big challenges like that?
Thankfully, the timing of the lockdown was good for us. It wasn't as bad. We weren't as badly hit as other business or other event organizers. We managed to complete our biggest event of the year, the Pyramids Half Marathon, just before the lockdown. So we were sort of fortunate and lucky. Thankfully, we haven't had to make any sacrifices or any with the business at all, or layoffs. So we were lucky with the timing because we managed to complete this event, which is our biggest event of the year. And just before the lockdown hit us, just before we started, working on our next event. So we did have to go through some, refunds and some tests, minor tests, compared to others. But thankfully, more or less, we were lucky with the timing. Like I said, we managed to navigate this difficult period by organizing virtual marathons, which is a lot of fun. People are actually at this moment exercising more than they used to before the lockdown. So we've gained a lot of momentum actually during this period, and we got a lot of new participants, a lot of new followers on our social media. And it's all because people are completely focused on endurance sports at the moment because it's the only option you have in front of you. So the virtual marathons we're continuing with them, and it's helping us staying relevant and float the business.
That's amazing, isn't it? And it's the story that I'm hearing from all over the world is, masses of people running, bike shops running out of bikes that, there's such a demand. So I think fantastic for the industry. Any sense from your perspective of when you might be back to business in terms of when is your next event on the calendar, and do you have any concerns that you're going to need to postpone it?
We postponed our most recent event, the Sahel Hashish Endurance Festival, which is it's actually our oldest event. It's a very beautiful event on the Red Sea. We had to postpone it twice, actually, from April to June, and then now it's until further notice towards the end of the year. We're hoping to start organizing maybe smaller scale events starting September. But we can't, we're not confident at all if this is going to happen or not. But we're keeping our fingers crossed, and hoping for the best that towards the end of the year we'll be able to start organizing events again, and we'll probably find out soon.
And that's, I guess, a lot of collaboration with governments trying to work out a plan that's going to be safe for everybody in terms of the participants, and I guess some of the challenges there. There's many mass gatherings in Egypt and in Cairo with people going to the mosques and so on. So your kind of challenge where globally people are saying mass gatherings and mass participation events sit in that same area. So it must be some interesting challenges for you to try and work with agencies to get those approvals.
That's right. We're working closely with the Ministry of Sports in Egypt and trying to figure out how we can cope with future restrictions. We're trying to build our own expectations on what would be acceptable, once things get back on track. At the moment, there are no large gatherings allowed. Even mosques, as you mentioned, they're not open. So this is definitely a major occurrence. So like I said, things are expected at the time, closer to July next month, to start easing more. And I believe, just like all other event organizers that you talk to, that I think we're aiming for end of the year or beginning of the year to resume our operations, and getting accustomed to the new normal, which we are going to find out what it's going to be like exactly.
Yeah, right. And so, I always like to talk about leadership as well, and clearly you've been a trailblazer, you've been a leader in the industry. Where do you take your lead from as a leader? How did Ayman kind of pop up as a leader of the industry? Is there someone along the way that's been a role model for you? Where do you take some of your leadership cues from? What are some of the principles you apply when you're leading a team? How many do you have in your team, by the way?
We're 8 people, eight
Eight
full-time
people.
employees, and we
Yeah.
definitely have a lot more people joining us on project basis, on event basis. So, but yeah, my core team consists of 8 full-time employees.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, it's passion, about sports. I've always been crazy about sports. I've been lucky to form a team of passionate athletes, So we're all trying to work on a project that we really believe in. It's something that we like to do. It consists of they're all athletes and triathletes in my team. Personally, it was a passion. And this is where I really draw my inspiration from. It's something that I like, it's something that I really understand. It's not just about business, or work. It's not work for me at all. It's really what I enjoy doing. And I always feel bad when I'm organizing the event and I don't get to participate in it. It's just always the struggle. But it's something that I really like. I've definitely learned a lot as a water polo player. Just gave me a lot of belief and a lot of taught me a lot about teamwork. And this has been key, I think, in my growth as a person and as a businessman. And actually did learn quite a lot from my previous employer as well, British Petroleum. Enjoyed working over 6 years there, and my manager was really supportive at the end of my career when she noticed that I was ready to move on, and my boss's boss as well, they always encouraged me to, move on, although I was doing quite well as an economic analyst. But yeah, so definitely I had some key people. Even my family was very, very supportive. Always learned a lot from my brother, my father, about working hard. And they actually come from a family of doctors. So they're all
Okay.
very academic compared to me, but I could see the dedication and hard work. That's definitely helped me a lot as well.
Wow, wonderful. And so then to finish off with something inspiring, and you're an inspiring story yourself. Is there anything that you've seen along the way that's inspired you, or something you've seen during COVID time, or one of your events that you'd like to leave the
Yeah.
viewers with?
Absolutely. When looking for inspiration, sometimes I look back at some of the challenges that we had to overcome, to draw some inspiration, and that gives me, strength to continue. Like I said, we've been in the business now for 5 years, and we had to overcome some very difficult challenges over the years, and that just only makes us stronger, and that helps me a lot. I always look at other examples as well in the mass participation industry, to get inspired and to figure out how they've managed to overcome many challenges. Beirut Marathon, for example, is definitely a very good example for me, to see how they managed to progress the business over 20 years, and organize such a huge event in the Middle East in similar circumstances to Cairo. So the Beirut Marathon is always a very inspiring success story for me, and hoping that we could definitely match their success in the future, I hope.
Wonderful. It's been so great talking to you, obviously you're an absolute trailblazer there. You're doing amazing things. I hope we get to meet in person one day. I'd love to come and visit your country and see one of your events. But I just really want to end by wishing you all the very best. Hope it's not long before you're back out on the roads running and cycling. Ride safe, stay safe, and thanks so much for your time.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Ayman.